I wouldn't go quite so far as to say there's a thaw. It is good news.
Okay.
Look, it's great news for the hostages and their families. It gives ordinary civilians in Gaza a break from the bombing. It's a cessation of hostilities for 4 days. And Israel is already saying, Prime Minister Netanyahu is already saying, moment that ends, we go back to bombing Gaza. We go back to fighting Hamas. So there's, it's not really a thaw. It's a deal that was struck in Qatar with very strong pressure from the United States on all parties to make this happen. And we should thank God for small mercies, as they say. And as I said, for the people who are benefiting the most from this deal, the mercies are not small. They're quite substantial.
Absolutely. We're seeing 50 hostages from Gaza will be freed, and the release of 150 Palestinians who are in Israeli jails at the moment. But tell us, Bobby, because this is exactly what Israel has not wanted, in the sense that any pause is a chance for Hamas to regroup, get the military operations back together. I mean, this is that something to be feared then, that like there could really be maybe an escalation in the violence after this?
I think this is why it's taken this long for the truce to happen. Israel had to be absolutely certain that the chances of Hamas regrouping and rearming were as small as possible. There's always that possibility, but Israel would not have made this deal if it didn't have a high degree of confidence that it can prevent that from happening, or it can manage how much Hamas rearms. Presumably this means it'll be paying much closer attention to the borders, much closer attention to those tunnels through Egypt to make sure that Hamas does not get it. And it has already wrought so much damage on Hamas infrastructure that there must be a high degree of confidence that Hamas's arms-making facilities in Gaza City, for instance, will not easily be revived in 4 days.
Okay, so that's kind of where I wanted to go, because I know that the stated objective of Israel is to destroy Hamas and its leadership. Yeah. How do you define that? How do you know when it's happened? I kind of fear it's like the drug cartel. You take out one kingpin and then the next person just rises right up again.
Yeah, this is they're not fighting a conventional military. Right. This is a terrorist group. The leadership can change and has changed. Israel has a long history of taking out top Hamas leaders. The thing just keeps coming back. And you also have to remember that in the process of trying to eliminate Hamas in this way, it's also creating the circumstances for Hamas to be able to recruit. Yeah, you've got hundreds of thousands of young Palestinians in Gaza and elsewhere who are outraged by what they see, and a small proportion of that population will be more amenable to joining Hamas now, shall we say, than they were before. So it's this is not the kind of war which ends with people signing an armistice and making a peace deal. And that's been the problem. The Biden administration has said consistently from the beginning that they've been asking the Israelis to define what victory looks like and explain what happens the day after. And until now, the Israelis have not provided that information. They've not communicated it in private to the Biden administration. They certainly have not communicated it publicly.
And of course, whatever that timeline may be as well is probably pretty daunting to think of, like the task ahead, how long that may take. It makes me wonder if there could be perhaps the need for more ceasefires in the time to get to that end point.
Yeah, so we'll see if this one works. And everybody shows good faith, and that then hopefully creates the circumstances for another one down the line and another one, and maybe this is the kind of conflict where, because everyone is so painted into their own corners or the opposite ends of the room, that the advances that can only be incremental. It might be that this is the only way, slow, painful, deadly as it is, this might be the only way we begin to move towards some kind of resolution.
Is there a scenario where Israel does not end up occupying Gaza? I can't think of a scenario where they don't, to preserve the peace. I mean, does the UN play a role? I mean, what do we think about the day after?
Well, so here's the thing. Now, Israel has signaled that it is willing to do that in order to make sure Hamas does not come back. But this is not a popular idea among Israelis.
Right.
for a start. Israelis don't want an occupation of Gaza because they know what that will entail, not just in terms of costs, but also the risks that come with that. Nobody else wants to do that. Nobody else wants to perform that role. I don't think any Western peacekeepers would have credibility there. The United Nations will eventually have to play a role, but until now, Secretary General Guterres has been sort of saying, look, this is not going to become a protectorate of the United Nations. The Arab countries who would logically be part of the biggest part of any peacekeeping effort, their view is, why should we clean up Israel's mess? This can't become a thing where you go in and bomb Palestine or parts of Palestinian territories to smithereens and expect us to come and clean it up for you afterwards. So there's going to be a lot of reluctance. The crucial question for everybody is peacekeeping toward what end? Mm-hmm. If there is a clear path after the fighting is over for a two-state solution, then I can see, and there are sort of cast iron guarantees to that, then I can see the Arab states saying, all right, we'll take some of this responsibility if there's a clear path that this never happens again.
All right, so on that two-state solution, who is the biggest impediment to that actually happening at this point, do you think?
I mean, there's so many impediments, and at different times their relative weight changes. But Israel is an impediment. The current administration in Israel, the coalition government that Benjamin Netanyahu has put together, has no interest in a two-state solution. Many of his partners have openly said that's not what they want, that they will oppose it. The Palestinian Authority, which is deeply corrupt, completely inept, and has not dared to test its popularity with an election in years and years and years, they are an impediment. And of course, Hamas. And Hamas's enablers Iran is a very big part of the peace problem too. So yeah, a problem this intractable and this complicated, there are lots of people who have to share the blame.
Just really quickly here, Bobby, in our last 30, if you could just explain to us what this second stage could look like with a possible extension to free more hostages.
Well, so there's some talk that after these 50, if Hamas continues to release hostages in a sort of steady sort of 10 a day, 15 a day, then there's some hope that the cessation of hostilities, the truce, can be extended. Again, this is something we should all hope for and keep our fingers crossed that it happens, but we'll believe it when it happens.
Yep.